I'm going to tell you a story, and it's going to involve a video game, and how that one video game can bring people together and complicate their lives. Oh, and maybe a hint of recursion. Welcome to All Your Lives Belong to Us, an Aurora Wasteland story. Episode 3, Simon.
257.
A. At exactly 6:43 a.m., Simon's eyes opened, just like he did every morning since he was old enough to read a clock. And it was likely he was doing it before then as well, but he couldn't be sure. His mom can attest to this. And while growing up, it had been a nightmare to get up so early. Sleepovers, for example, were the worst. But now, as a grown man who ran his own company, getting up at exactly 6:43 a.m. provided him with the start of a routine he needed to complete everything he wanted from his daily checklist. Not that he wrote any of it down. He didn't do lists. Simon rolled over and examined the curvy behind of the body next to him. This was another area getting up early benefited him later in life. He often left before his one-night stand even started to wake. And while he'd certainly taken advantage of that many times over the course of his life, the curvy behind next to him wasn't one of those cases. No, that beautiful ass was a repeat guest. Really, at this point, they were kind of living together, which made so much of Simon's day even easier to schedule. Not that he did schedules, because he didn't. As he took one long, lip-biting glance at the behind, he'd done so many dirty things too the night before. Simon thought about putting some gym shorts on, didn't, then made his way to his home gym he'd built for himself out on his patio, naked. He'd found lifting heavy with nothing on while watching the sunrise helped him noodle, which was a trendy way of sane thinking. He also claimed that having other people watch him helped him as well. The 3 building complaints he'd received so far hinted at it not helping others. After a quick upper body routine that was designed to allow him to get maximum gains with minimum time put in, Simon showered off in his outdoor shower, then made his way to his hot tub for his morning soaking coffee. As his balls dipped into the water, the sun rose from the top of the other buildings. Colors reflected off the many buildings in a kaleidoscope of colors. He loved living downtown. Halfway through his coffee, a voice broke his noodling. "I'm off to work," a deep, comforting voice said. "You okay?" Simon glanced up to see Kenneth smiling down at him, as best as Kenneth could. He wasn't much of a smiler. Simon liked that about him. "I'm good." "You sure?" "Yeah, I'm good." "You look great in that suit. You always do. You sure know how to make a black man blush." "I'm starting to think you're doing it just to see if you can." "No, just like you is all," Simon said as he smiled at Kenneth. "You sure you're okay?" "It's just a big day with the experiment, and That's not what I meant. I know what day it is. I know you know what day it is." "Yeah, I'm fine," Simon said as he looked away and squinted at the rising sun. "It's just a stupid day on a calendar, no different from yesterday or today. Don't let it eat you up." "I'll try, but I love you," Kenneth interrupted. "I love you too," Simon replied. "Good luck with the experiment. Call me if you want to talk, and I'll see you tonight for dinner." "Thanks," Simon said as the weight of today bore down on him. As he watched Kenneth and his amazing ass walk away, Simon couldn't help but think of what the outcome of today could bring. So much could change, but he had to keep reminding himself that he needed to take it all one step at a time. After a short drive to work, Simon found himself staring at his phone while he sat in his stupidly expensive car down in the company parkade. The screen was blank, but it helped him zone out. He'd never admit it to anyone, but he was beyond nervous. What if it didn't work? What would he do next? He'd have to keep trying, but the thought of doing so made him want to vomit. "You okay, boss?" a woman said as she tapped on the window of his car, breaking his car noodling. Simon looked up to see Gabby, the lead architect of the project, staring back at him. Simon rolled down the window but didn't reply. "You're just staring at your phone there, boss? You okay? Ready to give the whole thing a real run?" "You actually think it'll work?" Simon replied with an air of uncertainty in his voice. "Yeah, I built the stupid thing. It'll work." "But it's..." "Boss, you okay?" "Yeah," Simon said, as he coughed away some pending tears and got out of his car. "I'm fine. Why does everybody keep asking me that?" "Maybe it's because it looks like you're unsure if you lost something up your bum." "Is that a saying normal people use?" "Normal people?" "And no, I just made it up. You don't pay me to write, you pay me to build. Come on, boss. Let's get this bum show on the road." "Pretty sure that's not a saying either," Simon said, almost laughing, as the two of them made their way to the elevator and up to the 8th floor. Each step inched his level of hope higher. The whole process had been so long that now that the day was finally here, he was feeling all kinds of conflicting emotions. Each was valid and warranted, some more than others, and he wasn't willing to admit it, even to himself. The elevator dinged as the two of them got off the elevator and exited into the lobby. They'd rented the entire floor in the hopes of needing it one day. So far they didn't. Everyone had offices that were comically big, and most of the time they didn't even use them. The lobby was substantially bigger than they needed, especially given that they didn't have a single paying customer yet. But that didn't stop Simon's ego from ballooning to the size of the space they'd rented. To cap the whole thing off, they didn't even have a receptionist yet. No one called, so there was no need to hire anyone. But one day they would, and one day this lobby would be filled with people. Simon knew it, because he'd be one of the customers in a heartbeat. The massive mural that read, "Your Afterlife," split as they pushed the doors open from the lobby and vanished behind the company's veil. As Simon worked his way around the floor to his office, he passed almost everyone. Imara, the hardware lead, Birch, the software lead, and Hornsby, the quality assurance and business analyst. Each of them seemed more excited than the last. Each made Simon question if they were ready. By the time Simon and Gabby split ways, her to her office, his to his own, Simon was ready to throw up. He'd cycled back around to thinking it would all work. It had to. It had been his idea, all of it. His idea, his drive, his need for this all. It would work. He needed it to. As the door to Simon's office swung open, Simon noticed he had a guest. Had he forgotten a meeting? Doubtful. Not today. But it only took a second for him to recognize who it was, and just why they were waiting. "What are you doing in my office, Nick?" Simon asked as he put his bag down. "I'm kinda nervous," Nick said as he took a sip from a glass Simon hadn't noticed until now. It was his glass from his private bar. He glanced over. A bottle of bourbon sat open in the middle of the bar. "What?" Nick said as he noticed Simon noticing the glass. "You're starting a little early." "Well, you are about to kill me," Nick laughed as he took another sip. "Well, only technically, and only for a second." "Well, that's only technically enough for me to need this drink. And I'm sure the time length doesn't matter, does it? Being dead is dead, no? The time length only matters if we don't want to actually kill you." "But you are," Nick said as he took another long drink. "Going to kill me. You signed on for this, remember? You came to us. I can still be nervous. Doesn't mean I don't want it any less," Nick said as he finished his drink. "If this works, if people can die and come back, if they can talk to loved ones, it will change the world. Yeah. I heard your whole speech before," Nick said, interrupting him. "You always seem to leave out the why." "I'm sorry, the why?" "Why do it? To help others." "No," Nick interrupted him. "Why are you doing it? What's driving you?" Simon sighed and glanced over at the bottle. Maybe it wasn't too early to drink. "My son." "There it is. I don't need more. I have my wife, you have your son. We all have motivation." "You sure you're ready for this?" "Fuck yeah," Nick said enthusiastically as he jumped to his feet. "Let's go kill me." B. 257. The notification popped up again, letting Nick know the lemon was online. There must be something wrong with him. Maybe all the being shot in the head stuff had given him brain damage. There was no way she could be logging on. He stared at the game system, still confused as to exactly what it was. It played Lemon's game, somehow. Yet, he'd never seen or heard of a video game console like it. He leaned forward to look at it. The words Deep Oil Connection Box were written on the side. That was the name of Lemon's game company, Deep Oil Games. So they did have an exclusive game box? Had the name been on the console this whole time? Had he checked it earlier? He couldn't remember. This was all so weird. The notification sat on the screen, patiently waiting for him. He leaned back to stare at it. What happened if he clicked on it? Why would someone pretend to be her? He knew nothing. Not a lot of top secret information in the hotel game. But what worried him most was, what if it was her? What would he even say? He grabbed the controller and highlighted the notification, then pressed the button to open it. The notification directed him to a message she'd sent him. "The window is unlocked. Press the X to open it. Find the other X to get back in. Don't fall. It would be bad. Lemon." Nick stared at the screen, unable to move, unable to think of anything other than it was her. It had to be. It was the line, "Don't fall, it would be bad." That gave it away. It was from Ghostbusters. And they said it to each other all the time, followed by, "I'm fuzzy on the whole good-bad thing." She was here. somewhere, wherever here was, and she wanted him to go press an X on the window? He didn't remember seeing an X there before. Did she think he was in a different room? Controller still in hand, he hit reply to the message from Lemon. And just as he pondered what to say, because what do you say to your dead wife that sends you a message from within a video game that she made that you're pretty sure you're inside of somehow? Then she logged off. Another notification in the corner let him know. He frowned. At least he didn't have to figure out what to say. He glanced over to the window. The curtains stared back at him. Leaving the controller behind, he got up from the bed and crossed the room to the window. He threw the curtains open, expecting to see what he saw before. The blue glow was still there, as was the paint outside the window. It was all the same except for the large X in the dead center of the pane of glass. Nick ran his fingers over it. The X was scratched into the paint on the outside. Someone had done it. From outside the building? Someone had been right there while he was trapped in here? Had it been Lemon? Had she been this close to him? Why didn't she knock or try to get his attention? Cautiously, Nick tapped the X right in the center. The window shattered. The wind whistled around him. The glow of the blue light blinded him, and the realization of just how high he was set in. Everything was far away, most notably the ground. Nick couldn't help stare at it. The building he was in was higher than any other in the cityscape he could see. Everything was dark except for the glow, which seemed to be coming from the other side of the building. It looked just like the game. See, the hotel room was one thing, but this was something else entirely. The entire game world stared back at him. Chills ran down his back. Now what? He found the first X. Now he had to find the next... what? To get back in? Now he had to find the next X to get back in? That means he had to go out to get back in. And going out there? He glanced down again. Vertigo rushed through him. Well, it was a bad idea. But he had to try. Lemon had sent him that message. He needed to follow what she said. Because, well, what else was he going to do? At worst, he'd fall and die and end up right back here, right? What if dying outside the building meant you actually died? Maybe this was some safe spawning area? Nick wobbled as he stepped out onto the small ledge that was outside the broken window. It couldn't be more than a few inches wide. At least that's how it felt. He glanced left and right. Which way was he supposed to go? The message didn't give him a direction, so he just picked one. Right it was. The building felt cold against him as he inched along, his chest pressed against it. He could see all the windows in front of him were painted from the outside. He inched over to the window of the room next to his. He scratched some of the paint off and peeked inside. A lone man sat playing Elysium on a console that looked just like his. Nick knocked on the window. The man ignored him. Nick knocked harder, and again the man didn't move. Nick hammered on the window one last time. The man in the room slowly placed the controller down on the bed next to him, walked over to the window, and closed the curtains. Nick inched over to the next window. There was another man playing the game. Again, he ignored Nick, and eventually shut the curtains. The cycle repeated itself until Nick reached the last window, until he had to somehow turn the corner, which seemed impossible as the wind picked up around him. Nick scratched the paint off the window and saw a woman playing a game this time. No, she wasn't playing a game. She was just looking at her stats. From what he could see, she'd died over 1,000 times. Wow, his single-digit number seemed embarrassingly low in comparison. He knocked on the window and the woman jumped to her feet. She sprinted over to the window and threw the curtains open wider to try to see more of Nick, which the black paint prevented. "How did you get out there?" she asked through a panicked tone. "I pressed the X," Nick replied. "X?" "Yeah, the letter. It was scratched on the outside," Nick said as he used his fingernail to scratch an X onto the outside of her window. "Like this. Is there an X in your room that looks just like that?" "No, just the one you made." "Don't you want to maybe look around before you answer?" "I've been here a long time. I know this room." Her death count seemed to back up the statement. "I'm going to press your X." "Well, that won't work, guy." The woman pressed the X on the glass he'd just scratched into place. The window shattered, which caused Nick to lose his balance and tumble backwards off the ledge. The woman yelled something as she vanished. He thought it was either thank you or sorry. Either would be appropriate. Then again, it might just be what he wanted to hear. The fall was longer than he'd expected. He had more time to think about Lemon and hope she wouldn't be mad at him for falling and wrecking her plan. He so badly wanted to see her again. Then he hit the pavement and increased his death count by 1.
257.
Hey.
257.
Is that a dentist chair? Nick asked as Simon helped him sit down in the chair that the entire lab was centered around. Yeah, it is. We got it off a Facebook buy and sell group. Great deal, too. As long as you don't put anything in my mouth. I hate the dentist. We all do, buddy. And if we're going to put something in your mouth, it would be our dicks. Right, Gabby? Simon said as he motioned for Gabby to join them. No dick to put in your mouth, just boring old lady parts. Oh, it's not that old, Gabby. What, are you like 49? 29, actually. I was pretty close. In the ballpark, some would say. No one would say that. You okay, Nick? Yeah, Nick replied as he laid down in the chair. Don't let him put his dick in me. No promises. I like your honesty, Simon added. Let's get you dead, Nick, he said as he patted Nick on the shoulder and rolled a stool over to sit on, then pulled a touchscreen monitor over and started activating various health monitor apps that he'd helped create, that they'd created to know just how dead someone was. Turns out there are a lot of stages of death, and you have to pass just the right point to bring someone back, which is what they were planning on doing. So, Simon said as he pulled some reading glasses from his pocket and put them way too far down on his nose. He started wearing glasses like that after watching Kenneth do it. At first it would bug him, but the joke quickly turned to becoming the only way he wore them. Now Kenneth bugged him. You're going to be the first person to dip their dick into the afterlife, and then, I should point out the most difficult part, pull said dick back out of the afterlife. It's kind of a big deal. You're like the Amelia Earhart of whatever comes after life. Yeah, I've been thinking about that, Imara, the hardware lead, said as she interjected herself in the conversation. Simon hadn't even noticed her come into the death theater, as he liked to call it. What if there is nothing? What do you mean? Gabby asked. There's always something. Every religion has an afterlife. Roll the dice. One of them has to be right. Do they? No, they do not, but we're banking on there being something. Not to get all touchy-feely, but life is way too wicked awesome to just vanish when it's done, don't you think? What makes you think that? Another voice said, surprising Simon again. He really needed to get his hearing checked. There is a very good chance we just kill Nick here dead to worms, Birch, the software lead, said. As she pulled the chair next to Imara, the two exchanged a glance. They'd been dancing around this hole wanting to jump each other's bones for months. Simon had tried to force the two of them to work together alone a few times to speed things along, but nothing seemed to take, and both of the women seemed completely unaware that the other was into her. It made Simon sad thinking about all the lost time the two of them could have spent rolling around together, naked. Listen, there's something. I've done the research. There is something there. You know it for a fact? Nick asked. Sometimes space science guys, or ladies, Birch added. Sure, or space science ladies, Simon continued. When they look for planets, they don't actually look for planets. They look for clues that the planet might exist. Like gravity. Planets create their own gravity, and thusly affect other objects with it. So, if you study the gravity of, say, like a sun, you can tell if it has planets, if the sun has hints of a countergravity working on it. I'm not sure that's 100% correct, Gabby said as she patted Simon on the shoulder. But it's the thought that counts. What are your indications? Nick asked. How do you know there is an afterlife? Well, that's all proprietary, so I'm not going to tell you. Makes sense, just thought, you were going to murder me and all, that you'd like to share it. Nope. Cool, Nick laughed. Did you run the QA of the latest build? Simon asked Birch. Yeah, I always do. I'm not about to test my code in production, aka Nick. Okay, just checking. You run your hardware failsafe, Imara? You okay? Gabby asked Simon. Yeah, why? Because you're micromanaging the shit out of my team. Your team? I hired them. Yeah, they're my team. But I hired you? Doesn't that make them my team too? No, that's not how IT works. You ready to tell me what's wrong? Gabby whispered to Simon so that Nick couldn't hear. Yeah, it's just... What? What if it doesn't work? What if I don't get to... Gabby hugged Simon's head. It'll work. And if it doesn't, we'll try again. And make it work. Don't worry. You'll get to see him again. Thanks, Gabby, Simon said as she released her hug, and he watched as Imara started to attach various sticky pads and clip to Nick to monitor his vitals. She also started strapping Nick down to the chair. It's okay, Nick, buddy, Simon said as he wiped a tear from his eye. They are just so that you don't roll off the table, and so that when I kill you with my axe, you don't run away. He doesn't really have an axe, does he? Nick asked Imara, who shrugged in reply. The next half hour was spent prepping Nick and their equipment for what they were about to do to him. Simon's mood drifted further and further to serious. Despite what Gabby and Kenneth had said, this was his last shot at this. He had no other ideas. It was the end of the line. If this didn't work, there was no chance of him ever seeing his son again. Well, that is until he died, which he'd in all likelihood do immediately after failure. Okay, Simon said as he placed a hand on Nick's shoulder. It's time to die, Nick. Any last wishes? Meals? Or handsies? Nick laughed. No, I'm good. Kill me, buddy. I'm ready. You're like a sexy bearded death astronaut. I love it. Balls of fury, let's do it. Starting countdown. Across the room, Hornsby, the team BA, started the countdown from 10. Equipment Simon had dreamed up whirled to life in the background of the theater. The lights dimmed and focused on Nick. A viscous black fluid flowed into an IV in Nick's arm as the straps holding him down to the table tightened. 5, 4, 3. Hornsby continued the countdown. Good luck, friend, Simon said to Nick as the two of them locked eyes. 2. A ripple opened above the table, as if someone was tearing open the fabric of reality right above him. Pieces of it threaded apart, as a void of darkness pulled itself into existence. Everyone stared at it. This is pretty intense, Nick yelled. 1. The machines went silent, having reached their desired levels. The rip above Nick was now as large as he was, slowly started pulling air into itself. Is it stable? Checking. Birch, enable scaling to the backup servers. We need way more processing power than was planned. On it, Birch added as she glanced over to Amara. Simon looked back and forth from Nick to the ripple to his monitor. The suction from the opening was increasing. Simon watched as Nick's body slowly rose off the table and tried to look up at the opening, but items on his screen kept catching his attention and pulling it back. Is this normal? Nick yelled over the increasing noise of the air moving past him. Sure, Simon replied. That's comforting. Okay, I think we're about to kill Nick now, Simon yelled to the room. About time, Nick added. The anticipation is killing me. Slowing down his breathing, Gabby said as she frantically moved the mouse on her screen. The suction from the ripple was affecting everything in the room. Now Gabby's monitor shook, and looking at it became harder. The viscous black fluid that was being pumped into Nick via his IV activated, and gently made it more difficult for Nick's lungs to breathe. Once it had slowed to the predetermined level, the substance moved to phase 2 and pinched the arteries and veins around Nick's heart, limiting the blood flow his brain would get. Nick's eyes fluttered and shut. He's out, Gabby yelled. Remove the restraints. Imara tapped the screen and the straps that were holding Nick's body to the table released. Nick's body slowly drifted upwards towards the ripple. Simon adjusted his glasses and got up from his stool as Nick moved through the opening. From here, Simon saw nothing, not even Nick's body. His body seemed to be gone. He's gone, Simon yelled to the room. Okay, let's bring him back, and Nick's body dropped from the ripple and landed on Simon. The ripple above them closed. The suction that was flowing up into it was gone. Everyone jumped to their feet and rushed over to help them. You okay, boss? Gabby asked as she helped pull him to his feet and fetch his glasses from the floor. I'm fine, Simon said, sounding hurt like a child. What the fictional hell happened? I don't know, Gabby said as her and Simon watched Imara, Birch, and Hornsby lift Nick back onto the table. He seems like he's still out. It didn't work, Gab. None of it did. He didn't make it over. Tears whelmed up in Simon's eyes. I'm not going to see my son again. It's okay. We'll figure it out. New systems always have bugs. He signed his liability paper, right? Simon laughed. Yeah? Okay. Because I don't want a metal piece of what used to be the dental chair arm pierced through Gabby's head. Her warm blood splattered across Simon's face. The piece of metal exited out where Gabby's eye used to be. She mumbled something as her body convulsed and dropped to the floor. Simon caught her and looked up to see Nick, bloody dentist chair arm in hand.
257.
B.
257.
Before Nick could even open his eyes, he knew something was different. The air smelled off. There was a background noise that wasn't normally in a hotel room, and he was sitting up. I know you're awake, a man's voice, who didn't sound happy with his allotment in life, said. You can drop the I'm asleep act. You're not the first to try it, not even the first person today. So come on, knock it off. The neon overhead lights burned into Nick's eyes as he opened them. He shielded them, but it did little good. He was in an office. White walls, cheap carpet. The desk looked to be about 50 years old, which matched the age he guessed of the man sitting across from him. That's better, the man said as he extended a hand for Nick to shake, which Nick ignored. Yeah, I don't know why I do that. No one shakes it, but it feels funny not to do it. You know what I mean? The man looked at Nick with a you know what I mean look. Nick gave no such look back. Fine. I see we can drop the small talk bull poopy. My name is Remy. I'm a fixer here. Someone or something needs something done, I make it happen. Clogged toilet, I fix it. Broken air recycler, I fix it. Need a body cleaned up? I fix it. Everything is just a piece in a system. If you understand the system, you can fix anything. Nick laughed. What are you fixing about me? Oh wow, you can talk. Who knew? Guess you were just being a dick before. Well, that is my default setting. This time Remy laughed. Guess we're just the same like that. A woman laughed from behind Nick and caught his attention. He turned just in time to see as she passed by the office door. The red dress really caught his attention, but only for a second. The large office space just outside the small room he was in mesmerized him. It looked so normal. Was he out of the game? Out of Elysium? Or wherever he had been that looked like Elysium? Was he out of the game? People went about normal office routines. Someone was drinking coffee with a stupidly big mug. Someone was slacking off and playing a video game on their computer. Everyone looked so normal. It hurt Nick's brain. Hey, buddy, focus please, Remy said as he snapped his fingers to get Nick's attention. I'm just going to leave, Nick said as he started to get up from his chair. This isn't for me. I don't know what that was back there in the hotel. I'm probably not going to leave a good review for whatever this is, and sit down, Remy interrupted. There is a device in your chest that will cause your heart to, well, explode if you leave the room, which I will then have to clean up, so do us both a favor and sit down. A device. Yeah, like a bomb? Device sounds less violent and dramatic. You're right about that, but can I ask why it's there? Well, to be fair, you're not supposed to be here. What, your office? Because I don't... No, Remy said as he interrupted Nick again. Sorry, let me be clear. You're not supposed to be in this building at all. There is no record of your arrival. You seem to have just appeared here. Thusly, we have nothing allotted to you. So your dying over and over leads to other people not getting what they need? So I've been told to bring you in here to my office to ask you politely to knock it off, please. Nick stared at Remy. He seemed so normal in his black suit, sitting behind his office desk. His politeness and the way he worded the issue seemed so corporate. He wondered about telling Remy that he didn't know why he was here either, and that he had no idea where here even was. How would Remy take that? Would he take Nick's room away? Maybe he would help get Nick out of here. Remy stared at him as he contemplated his reply, which with every passing second made Nick more uncomfortable. I'm here to find someone named Lemon, Nick blurted out. Aren't we all? Remy laughed. Get in line. Can I ask you something, Remy? Yeah, but I have another task I have to take care of right away, so make it quick. Where are we? Oh, I have misjudged this situation, Remy laughed. How did you get here? Nick fiddled in the arms of the chair he was sitting in. He really wished he could run. Stupid device in his chest. I clogged toilet on 137, the woman in the red dress said as she poked her head into the small office room. Nick turned to stare at her. Her bright red dress made her stand out among the black suits. It's your turn. Remy rolled his eyes and begrudgingly got to his feet. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere and don't leave the room. You know, the bomb in your chest and all. I thought you said it was a device. It's a bomb, we both know that, Remy said as he and the woman vanished from the office, leaving Nick alone. He fiddled with the chair, then looked around the room. Everything looked so damn normal, except there was an X-Files poster on the wall behind where Remy had been sitting. A giant red X stared back at Nick. He jumped to his feet and ran around to the other side of the desk. He tapped the X with his finger, just as he had done on the window in his hotel room. Nothing happened. He pushed harder, and his fingers went through the poster, ripping a hole in it. Nick laughed. It reminded him of that prison movie he and Lemon had watched over and over the year it came out on TV. It had played on a loop. They watched it in pieces hundreds of times. His favorite part had been the reveal that the prisoner had tunneled his way out and used a poster to cover the tunnel entrance. The poster tore as Nick tugged it off the wall. Just like in the movie, a tunnel waited for him. Had Lemon planned this the whole time? Was this the second X? With no regard for safety, Nick climbed into the tunnel, leaving Remy's small office behind him. The tunnel was dark, with the only light coming from behind Nick. He wondered how far the tunnel would go. Would he have to swim through a river of poo like the movie? He hoped not. But if it meant reconnecting with Lemon, then he'd do anything. The floor of the tunnel turned down sharply in a 90-degree angle, sending Nick and his thoughts tumbling into turmoil.
257.
Hey.
257.
Everything around him seemed so distant. Screams echoed around the lab. Simon stared down at Gabby's lifeless body. Her blood poured onto him. Simon said nothing. He couldn't move. He could only stare at her face. I'm sorry, Gabby, Simon said as Hornsby jabbered on in the background. Something across the room sparked and shot flames into the air. The screen next to him flickered and died. Any hope he had of seeing his son again was drifting to the edge of his reality. It was all over. Someone grabbed Simon by the shoulder. It was one of the girls and dragged him out of the room, forcing him to leave Gabby's body behind, yelling at him to hurry. Hornsby screamed, then his tone turned to a gurgle, then silence. The woman who had been dragging him out whimpered at the sight. She was muttering over and over again, "This can't be happening." A sentiment Simon greatly shared. None of this could be happening. This was supposed to be a new start, a way for people to travel to the afterlife to visit their friends and family that had died. He was supposed to be able to find the son he'd lost, but none of that was happening now. No, Nick had gone over and come back, deranged. What had they done to him? Had they broken his brain somehow? There had been no signs of neurological damage in any of the previous tests. What was different this time? The woman pulling Simon, who he just figured out was Amara, tripped and sent the two of them tumbling through the exit out of the lab. Birch screamed and smashed the emergency button that was located just outside every lab door exit. The air was filled with the slams of the exit doors all around the lab. Simon staggered to his feet and turned to watch through the blast-resistant glass of the door as Nick threw piece after piece of their one-of-a-kind, irreplaceable prototype equipment at the door of the room in an attempt to get out. Tears welled up in Nick's eyes, then streamed down his face as he watched Gabby's body lay on the lab floor motionless. He could feel her blood wet across his face, mixing with his tears. "You dragged us into the server room," Birch yelled, obviously not at Simon. "I didn't think, I just ran," Amara replied. "Sorry, it's just we're trapped here, and that guy just killed Hornsby and Gabby." "It's okay," Amara said as she pulled Birch in for a hug. "We'll be okay." Simon blinked, and for the first time, things drifted back into focus. He watched as the two women hugged each other tighter than he'd ever seen them hug each other before. Their love was more obvious in that single instance than he'd ever witnessed before. Maybe it wasn't all lost. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He'd almost forgotten it was there. He pulled it out, expecting it to be a call from Kenneth, checking in on how the experiment went. It wasn't him, though he'd called a few minutes earlier and Simon had missed it. The call display gave no indication of who was calling him, but he answered it anyway. Maybe it was the security company for the building calling to check on him. "Hello," Simon said, his voice shaky. "Is this Simon?" a woman's voice asked. "Yeah, who's this?" "If this is a bad time, I can call back. It's just... my name is Maggie, and I got this strange message from a man named Nick from inside the game Elysium. He said he needs help, and I'm supposed to ask about your afterlife, which I believe is your company, and I..." "Did you just say Nick?" "Yeah." "Yesterday?" Simon asked as he glanced into the room again. Nick was standing in the middle of the room, staring directly at him. He was breathing heavy. "Yeah, yesterday. Do you know Nick?" How was that possible? How could Nick need help yesterday? He'd seen Nick, and he didn't mention anything. He was in fact staring at him now. Simon was the one out of the two of them that seemed to be needing help. "Did you say Elysium, like the game?" "Yeah, you okay?" He'd tried to send Nick to whatever came after this mortal life. But if what this woman was telling him was correct, he'd sent Nick into a video game? Somehow? And on top of that, Nick had somehow sent this woman a message yesterday. Only Simon had just sent Nick there minutes ago. Maybe it was Simon's brain that was broken, because none of this was making sense. "Who are you?" Simon asked. "My name is Maggie, and I'd love if you could tell me what exactly is going on."
257. 257.
Hey, my name is VaughnAshby. I wrote this. If you liked what you heard, head on over to VaughnAshby.com/free and pick up a free novel or a bunch of other free stuff. Go explore the Aurora Wasteland yourself at AuroraWasteland.com. Don't forget to check out the Stories from the Wasteland podcast and search for VaughnAshby on YouTube for video versions and other exciting videos. Thanks for listening.